Good morning. My name is Luigi Tomba. I'm from the Australian Centre on China and the World here at the ANU, and today we are very fortunate to have a guest in Professor He Baogang from Deakin University. Professor He is a very well-known political scientist, and he is probably one of the few scholars of Chinese politics who can claim to have a broad knowledge both of the elite politics of their country and of the local politics of their country, because a lot of his work in recent years has also been away from the center, from the central Beijing politics. Today, however, we have him here, and we're lucky to have him at the ANU. He has been here at the ANU for a few days, giving a series of lectures to talk about the transition in the Chinese leadership, the recent transition. He's going to give a lecture today entitled China's New Leaders, Transition or Transformation. So welcome, Professor He. I'm very glad. And let me simply start by asking you a very general assessment of this transition. You say that there's a tension between transition and transformation, and we'll probably ask you more about that. But the first question that I have is 2012, in the lead up to the 18th Party Congress, has been a very nervous year with a lot of things happening. But despite that, the feeling is that the transition has actually happened in a relatively smooth way towards the end. Do you think this is a fair assessment? Do you think it has been a smooth transition? And do you think we should expect for 2013 more bumps in the road for this new leadership?
Yeah. Thank you, Luis. And it is my great honor to have an opportunity to talk in my personal view here. And I agree with what you just said. Is despite those many unexpected events, so the transition is smooth. In the end of the day, it's smooth. But the Bushland case really highlights two most important things that the Chinese Communist Party faces today and tomorrow. One issue is ideology. What direction China will go? Bushland represents a new left thinking. He offered his own visions of what China to do, how China should govern. So then this is a very important issue. And the second, the more important challenging question is the procedures of how to select the top leader. So in the mind of Bushland, he's trying to wage a campaign for his post in the top position through the local campaign. So that action itself speaks out. That is, he no longer accepts the top closed-door meeting that decides the candidates. So that is the issue, is that how to select the top leader in fair way. He might well be thinking that such question. Bushland, he will think, I'm the son of I'm also the son of Revolution cadre as the Xi Jinping. So why you are choosing, why I'm not mine? And he will well think that actually I'm doing better than you in the Sichuan, in Chongqing. So I did a really very impressive stuff, things like the housing reforms and to improve the people's livelihood. Then he will say, what you did in Fujian. So that's kind of things. It's really highlight some of the potential issue for the future leadership transitions. So this year, those 7, the Politburo Standing Committee, 5 of them are close to 70. That means from the next year on, in the 19th Party Congress, they have decided to choose another 5, the Standing Political Committee member. So probably we see from next year on, a new round of succession politics will be going on, because the 19th Party Congress will decide who will be successor to the Xi Jinping. So now the challenging issue is how the party can develop a kind of clear defined procedures. So this time, Xi Jinping was decided in the 17th Party Congress, and through a sort of the democratic procedures, that is, their leadership have different views about who should be successors. And in the end of the day, they hold a meeting in the Central Party School. Around the 300 people turn up, they fill the survey, and Xi Jinping get the highest score. That he was chosen. So that's the really first step towards a sort of procedure way, a more democratic procedure to select top leaders. But the whole process is manipulated, and it's really needed to open up these democratic procedures. And also this time in the 18th Party Congress, and I was told there are kind of informal voting. That is, those 7 Politburo Standing Committee are elected by the top leader, 25 Central Party Committee members plus a few other senior leaders. So they vote several times. Finally, they get those 7 people. So those are the selection by a sort of voting. It has been experimented now. But the challenging issue is how to make it more transparent, more open, more fair. So in the end of the day, if Bushland, he probably will be in prison. He will say, okay, I accept that. Hopefully, if Bushland can say, I accept the result, those competitive election, the limited competitive election, that's probably the signs of the improvement of the top leader selection procedures.
It sounds like transition is a continuous process.
You're right.
In a way, like revolution, if you want.
Right, yeah.
In the same way that the process of transition never stops, that it's always about the next generation.
That's
and
right,
this is what we're going to expect in the next 5 years. It is interesting, this process of institutionalization that you were suggesting, an institutionalization that comes from inside the party and somehow does not require completely an transparency, but somehow because of maybe more limited power that today's leaders have compared to previous leaders, it requires many more mechanisms to prevent conflicts. Somehow on this style of leadership, one of the things that have been said about Xi Jinping is that he could be potentially the new Mao. That's been one of the controversial statements some of our colleagues in the US have made, even before he was elected. And this consideration comes from the fact that rather than being a real Marxist, he seems to be more of a Leninist, and he seems to be much more, highly nationalist. Seems to be to have control of both the politics and the military. So there are a number of things that apparently, potentially, might make us think that he might be a leader inspired by the Maoist ideology. But I know that you have your own ideas about what his political culture, what his political ideology can be, or his political philosophy, if you want. And I would like to hear what you think about this.
Yeah, you're right. Bruce Gibbons, he published a piece in September this year in the National Interest. The title of his paper is that Meet the New Mao. Implies that the Xi Jinping is a new Maoist. And to answer these questions, whether or not Xi is a Maoist, we need several clarification, because Mao Zedong's thought is extremely comprehensive. He have everything. So if you see if we identify any writings that Xi Jinping have published or any thought he hold, then we can easily find there's similar kind of thoughts also did by Mao Zedong. So if we do that way, then we can see we can easily say, okay, Xi Jinping is a Maoist. But that way is not scientific. We need to identify different Maos. Mao Mao is not one person, not the one idea. Mao is have a different Mao in the historical different period. So certainly we can rule out that the Xi Jinping is not latest Mao, not the late Mao. Definitely Xi Jinping will not hold the view that we need a continued revolution. We need a proletariat dictatorship. Certainly Xi Jinping no longer holds such views. And to some degree, from the Xi Jinping's writing, one thing has come across to my mind. I found it's very striking. I just account who he cited the most. And I found he cited most Marx's writings and a lot of Confucian scholars' writings. Very few Mao. There's a few from Mao. So Mao's ideas do not kind of predominate over his thinking. So that's kind of from his writing what we can tell. And I would say that Xi Jinping, in terms of ideology, is a more Marxist, a classical Marxist than the Maoist. In the classical Marx, in the sense he's kind of go back the Marx's early writing, like Marx's thesis on the feedback, Marx's writing a contribution to political economy. In all those writings, Mao talking about historical materialism and emphasize how the productive force determine mode of production, then mode of production determine superstructures. And Xi Jinping follows this line of thinking. Then from this line of thinking, then he more kind of tried to develop apply political philosophy for the China, that the China should focus on the economic development. How through the developed Chinese economy, then found a way to resolve all the problems China faced, in particular how to carry out political reform. And so I was thinking that clearly he's a kind of revival version of the Marxists, early Marx. That'd be really interesting. In his interesting early Marx writing, he tried to put in the today's Chinese practice. And another aspect, I think Xi Jinping's ideology is a mixture of the early Marx and the Confucianism. So he has a lot of Confucian thinking in his mind. In particular, come to the personality, the personal leadership, cultivate individual leadership. And that's, in that aspect, remarkable. He's go back Liu Shaoqi's tradition. So within the Chinese Communist Party, you have a Mao Zedong's tradition, always emphasize the class struggles. When you have a Liu Shaoqi's tradition, emphasize how the Communist Party member should cultivate the self, 共产党修养. So he's more like this kind of tradition, and emphasize how to utilize the Confucian traditions to cultivate a good person, good gentleman, then to be good official. So one of the things a friend of mine said is very interesting. The 好官 must be 好人，好人 is not necessarily 好官. So a good official must be a good man. A good man does not mean a good official. So it's common sense. To be a good official, you must be a good man, decent man. So that's kind of, he's kind of a mixture of the a very basic, decent Confucianism with the Marxist. The Maoist still there a little bit, but not much.
Okay, so we'll see. We'll have to see what his style of leadership. One of the characteristics of the Maoist period is, of course, that there was not much challenge to Mao himself. At least not openly. And one of the constraints that this new leader faces is that even during the transition period during 2012, it became quite clear that there were forces behind the scenes that were operating to decide who the new leaders would have been, and a lot of a lot of commentators have been saying that Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao will maintain a significant say in how this leadership will operate. So now I guess one of the big challenges, one of the questions that I want to ask you is how much space will this leadership, which is not as, if you want, as powerful, at least in the individual people, as any of the previous generations, will have in order to implement new reforms of, both in the economy and political system.
Xi Jinping is lucky to enjoy great space than his earlier, than the Hu Jintao. So now the Jiang Zemin already 88. It's too old to interfere. But when the Hu Jintao was in power, the Jiang Zemin is 77. So still young, still energetic. So like when the Jiang Zemin was so lucky, he was first able to select by Deng Xiaoping and then consolidate his power and pass his power to Hu Jintao. He's lucky because Deng Xiaoping was too old to interfere. Even in 1992, Deng had some idea to try to change another leadership, but it's too late. Also too old for him to do. So today, probably I would say that Xi Jinping is extremely lucky in this matter. Jiang Zemin is really too old, 82, and only a few years left for him. And Hu Jintao, another luck is that Hu Jintao is not a person who is a very interesting hold on power. Now that his most luckiest things he had, Xi Jinping had, because Hu Jintao this time just retired completely. He even did not put his man in. He only one person, Li Keqiang, is a Chinese Communist Youth League members in the top 7 leadership, but the overall is not. And so his interference will be less than the Jiang Zemin did before. So he still got a few other people like Li Peng still around. There are many other people around, but then the most important things, Xi Jinping had a well connection with the military power. He already is the chairman of the Central Military Committee, so he really has a lot of space, better position than the Hu Jintao. Even today, it's really remarkable. He already, when he gave a talk, already kind of defined the Hu Jintao's historical position. He said Hu Jintao is under the leadership of Jiang Zemin and did a wonderful job. So it's already kind of defined the Hu Jintao's position. It's unusually for just an incoming president comments on past presidents in terms of historical rule. So I think he's able to do so. So he did, I think, has enjoyed great space. But on the other hand, he will not carry out the political reform as the West expected. Because if we look his writings, he has own views. He don't like this kind of Western type of democracy. So those things won't happen, definitely won't happen.
Thank you very much. This was a very interesting conversation. We'll stop it here. We also have to go to the lecture that you're going to give in a few minutes. So many thanks.
Thank you.
Many of these questions will remain open, and hopefully we'll have another chance to talk about
yes, thank you.
soon.
Hopefully some questions I'm wrong. I made the wrong questions. Better.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.